Well, I messed up and hit the wrong key, so I closed down my audio video on the first half of the live, and I'm starting a new one here. We'll see if anybody finds their way over here. Um, Hopefully that won't take too long, just a minute or two, and then we'll get back into it. Here they start coming. Graves, good evening. Thank you, Scott. Yeah, I messed up and I got excited, and instead of closing out my eBay picture, I closed the uh, YouTube studio. So that was kind of stupid, but it is what it is. Okay, but anyhow, so I was showing you on eBay that right now this knife used is selling for $300. This knife has very seldom been outside the sheath. It has not been used at all. It is still in absolutely spotless, brand new condition, still in the box. 60 years old. No, I can't say that. 50 years old. I bought it in 1980. So 1981 is when I bought it at Goodfellow Air Force Base at the base exchange. So I don't know if you can see it or not. I'll try to get it up as close as I can, but I paid $44.50 for it in 1981, and now they want $300 for it. Whoa, I guess that's almost as good as gold, huh? But anyhow, so that's that. Of course, you can always also get the U.S. Marine Corps fighting knife. This was made famous in the Pacific theater of the war. I like the balance on the Gerber Guardian a lot more than I do the balance on the USMC. This is also made by K-Bar, okay? But one of the other things, this is a 7-inch blade. This is a 6 3/4-inch blade. This is double-sided. This is single-sided, and this one has a different type of a point on it. It has a clip point, so it's really, I mean, it can also almost be used as a karambit. The center of balance on this one is right about here. Okay, on this one, it's just right here, right perfectly at the hilt. Or at the guard, whichever you want to call it. But so the Gerber is really precisely balanced. The K-Bar is a little bit more blade heavy. They tried to offset it with this pommel, which you can use for crushing. So that's another good thing in fighting. You can, not only do your slashing, but you can also do your crushing. So that's a good part of that. So should a survivalist be engaged in knife fighting? Should you spend a lot of time on it? No, I don't think so. You should learn a little bit about it. Absolutely. I probably, in basic training and then later on in life, I maybe have, oh gosh, if I have 60 hours of study in knife fighting, I would say that that's probably an exaggeration. But, I mean, and that's been a long time. So I have probably forgotten more than I learned, that I would be more of a danger to myself than I would to my opponent. But, I mean, it's something worthwhile studying, not at the expense of studying other things. If I had to study, I would study either the slingshot and or the bow first, and then go to the knife. Of course, and then the other option is they talk about the Henry AR-7 survival system, I'm going to call it, rather than a rifle. It's a combination 22 long rifle as well as 410 COD shotgun. So thank you, Patricia. I made a stupid mistake and hit the wrong button. I closed down chat. I closed down the YouTube audio video instead of closing down eBay. Okay, so the next one I really want to get into, the very next chapter is something that you aren't going to hear a lot of people talk about, that this is extremely important. So let's see if I can do this one right. We'll do one more share screen here. And it's about decision making. So let me see. I think this is it here. No, that's There it is. Decision matrix. There we go. Okay, so one of the things that he book that is just phenomenal, and this is something I taught in corporate America, so I'm very, very familiar with it. I love it. It takes a lot of the subjectivity out of what we're going to be doing. Prepper for the Ages, good evening. Love Son, good evening. Jared K. V8E, good evening. Welcome. Good to see you all. So one of the things I like about this is this takes all of the guesswork out of your prioritization. So basically, let me get back into that screen. I want to move my cursor around in there so you can see it a little bit better. But over here, coming down this side, we're going to have what our topics are. So let's say we select some topics like another epidemic, pandemic. We choose financial collapse. We choose complex coordinated terrorist attack. We choose World War III. We choose grid down. We choose all these different scenarios, okay? So now then over here, we're going to have some columns. And so the first column that he talks about in his book is that he thinks you should have, let me get to that page. He thinks you should have the probability of it occurring. So for example, right now in the Northeast, blizzard, they would say is a 5 probability. It's definitely happening. It's a record breaker as far as all the stuff they've ever seen hit the Northeast. As far as history has been recorded history, especially New Jersey, just the worst that it's ever been. The second column, okay, here would have basically, okay, if it does hit, how devastating is it going to be to your continuation or your existence? How much of a threat is it to you as an individual? Then over here, are there any mitigating circumstances? So for example, my number one thing up here, let's say, is a nuclear war. I say the chances of it happening is a 4. If it does happen, the devastation is going to be a 5. So now, can I mitigate it? Yeah, I can mitigate it a little bit. Maybe I have an underground fallout shelter with NBC rated air system, a 1-month supply of water, a 3-year supply of food, all this kinds of stuff. Then I can probably say, you know what, even though that's a devastating attack and there's a very high probability of happening, I'm not going to rate it as high because I'm pretty well prepared for it. So I'm going to reduce that a little bit. Then we take those numbers and we put the totals over here. Okay. Once we have the totals over in the far right column, then we can divide those up and we can say, okay, what are our priorities? The higher the total, the greater the priority. So in this case, let's say we had a 5 and a 5, but we said we're going to subtract 3, and that's going to make it a 7. But we said financial collapse is an 8. Therefore, we would prepare for financial collapse before we would nuclear, because the financial collapse would have an 8, whereas nuclear would have a 7. Now, we can even get more complex with this. And we could say that we might have weighted factors in our decision matrix, so that we say, you know, the probability of it happening is only 1/4 of our decision. So we're going to multiply that by 0.25, whatever we get there. But the overall effect, how bad, how devastating it is going to be 75% of our decision. So we're going to multiply that by 0.75. So that now notice the 2, 0.25 and 0.75 add up to 1. So that gives us a total of a multiplier of 1. So now we can do that based upon our own prioritization of, we want it prioritized not on how likely it is to happen, but how devastating it's going to be. You could add in other factors that you might want to add to your, and those could include such things as how long it's going to last. Okay. So you could then take all of those things. Oh, I'm sorry, Theoxerus. I'm out of it. Now I was out of chat and out of this screen so that I could show you with my cursor where they were, but they're really well written out in the book. I mean, he goes through very good, detailed, for about 5 pages on how to do this. He even gets into some word descriptions on how you might consider some of the things that you weigh. And then he shows over here. So here in his description, he's got his own personal weights for a home fire, epidemic, job loss, nuclear war, street crime, civil unrest, tornadoes, earthquake, flood, and economic collapse. Okay. So those are the things that he's judging: the probability, the severity, the mitigating things, then what their total hazard rating is, and then their prioritization. So he chose to choose anything that had a 7 or 8 total as priority 1, anything that was a 5 or a 6 as priority 2, anything that was a 3 or 4 as priority 3, and then anything that had a 1 or 2 as priority 4. So that way he had his own prioritizations and he knew which ones to prioritize first. Now, that can change on a regular basis because, as we see right now, there's a lot of different things that we're getting involved in. And so the probability increases on a daily basis if there's certain things happening. The European thing is really getting crazy. Evidently, Ukraine is having some major successes, threatening overall to President Putin. And so, he could probably revert to tactical nukes. And NATO has already told them, if you use tactical nukes, we will respond in kind. So that's an escalating thing like you would not believe. Iran has, North Carolina, thank you, welcome. Thank you for finding us. Iran has said they're going to shut down the Strait of Hormuz. Mexico is falling apart. We've got the stuff going on in Nicaragua. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff going on all over the world. The financial system is collapsing. We've got contention here in the United States. Unbelievable. There's all kinds of things for you to prepare for. Okay. So as a matter of fact, on prepping for the long term on Heather Ruth's Facebook page today, the question was, what are you preparing for? And I said, choose one. There's so many things you can prepare for that it almost makes you crazy. And my personal philosophy is, if you get the basics down, you've got it 80% covered. Like I tell you, I probably would not want during the initial phases of a nuclear war, I probably would not place that much value in gold and silver. However, as we develop and as markets reemerge, I would place more value in them. So that's probably not going to be a high priority for nuclear warfare. On the other hand, in a financial collapse, I probably am not going to want to have a Geiger counter. So, but they both have the same thing. I'm going to have a way of eating, of purifying water, of shelter, of self-defense, first aid, medication, sanitation, disposal of waste, all those things. Those are common across all theaters. So, then we have to decide which ones we're going to use. So then you get your specific ones that last 20% just for that high threat environment. Okay, let's see what else we've got here. He's got a couple other good questions I want to get to before we shut down this evening. So that was number 118. How can I assess and determine my highest risk factors? 119. How can I survive a wildfire or forest fire? Don't live there. I hate to be kind of flippant about that, but in reality, grass fires and forest fires are just, look what they did in Hollywood last winter. So, they're just devastating. I mean, I have a couple fears. So number one fear I have is fire. I fear fire more than I do gunfire. So I think that because in an SHTF situation with the grid down, we're not going to be able to notify the fire department. And right now, if your house catches on fire, they probably aren't going to put it out anyway. They're just going to try to keep it from going to the other houses nearby. If we don't have a fire department responding, we're going to have another Chicago. Mrs. O'Leary's barn gets a kerosene lamp knocked over in it, and half the city burns down. And that's a reality. That scares me. So What can we do as far as having pumps and fire extinguishers and fire blankets and everything else, and try to mitigate that as much as possible? That's going to be important. So clearing space away from your home, not having trees too close to your home where the embers can come on top, not having anything that's flammable at the base of your home or around the base of your home. All that comes into account. He's got 4 or 5 great pages around this. No, 6, 7 great pages around that. He used to be a paramedic for the fire department or for the Forest Service. Okay, 120. Should a survivalist be good at identifying and using edible wild plants? Absolutely. That's one of my biggest weaknesses is foraging. I was really good growing up in El Paso and both in the desert foraging as well as in the high mountain forest foraging. Here, where it's a transition area between east in central Texas, we've got prickly pear at the same time as we have grasses. So this is a transition zone. So we have a little bit of the desert stuff, not the same desert stuff I grew up with. And we have a little bit of the forest fauna and flora that I kind of had in New Mexico, southern New Mexico, but in the Lincoln National Forest. But yeah, I need a lot more in foraging and plant identification and using. So Shenanigans says, I live in a national forest. We're surrounded by trees, no escape, no matter what. The zero zone they put into effect here will not stop forest fires from burning my house. Just saying. Yeah, and now, so you know why I'm scared. I mean, we can share something there. That's absolutely true. I mean, fires scare the living daylights out of me. The second thing that scares me is I've got my fecal matter issue taken care of. I know how I'm going to dispose of it. I know how I'm going to handle it. I know I've got everything necessary. Listen, one of the worst things you can do in a post-apocalyptic world is not washing your hands on a regular basis, not having clean hands, especially after going to the bathroom. Okay. So I've got my containment system for my fecal matter and my urine. I've got a hand sanitation system. That's all taken care of. I don't know about the other neighbors in the neighborhood. Okay. That scares me. I have these visions of, what is it, the Superdome in New Orleans. You saw when the people were in the Superdome and they tried to use the restrooms in the Superdome, and then all of a sudden they had the back pressure from the sewage system and it just started pushing all that stuff out and into the hallways of the Superdome. I envision that happening here in the neighborhood. It's not going to be pleasant. It's going to be disease prone. So make sure you have medications to take care of that disease as well. And then, so then we get up to 121. Should a survivalist be skilled at knife fighting? And the answer to that is absolutely. Should you use and depend on advanced technology? I was looking at a new iPad today, $1,400 at Costco. Do I really want to spend that much money on another? This will work. I have all my stuff on thumb drives, so I have plenty of these. That's got all my recipes, videos that I wanted to save, first aid books. On prepping for long-term survival, Heather Ruth's channel on Facebook, there's a guy, Ron Davis, and every day he probably puts up 20 Kindle books that are for free, or books that he's found on eBay that are free, military pamphlets that are for free. He puts up probably 20 books a day that you can download and store on a thumb drive that are going to be critical for you in a post-apocalyptic world. I probably should start doing that on my Facebook page as well. So should we depend on advanced technology? Yes, but make sure you have a way to keep the batteries charged, have a way to charge it, know how to use it. For example, a lot of people say that they want to get into ham radio, but when they talk about ham radio, they're talking about the handy talkie. They're talking about, they're talking about this. This is a TID radio, not to be confused with the Baofeng UV5R, which most people want to buy. This has a little bit better antenna. It has a little bit better. A lot of things are a lot better than the except for the fact that the antenna just fell off. Wow. That's what I get for picking it up by the antenna. So in my opinion, that's not ham. That's handy talkie. Okay, ham to me is the 40 meter, 1.5 megahertz, and the 20 meter, which is going to be about 15 megahertz. But anyhow, I'm looking more at HF single sideband, long range communications instead of these short range line of sight communications that are dependent upon a repeater. These are duplex. Okay. So most of your handy talkies that are ham radio that you have to have a technician's license for are duplex. That means it transmits on one frequency and receives on a different frequency. Whereas most of the time when you're in ham, continuous wave or single sideband, it's going to be simplex, transmitting and receiving on the same frequency. So when you're done talking, you say over. Same thing, you can get GMRS. It looks like the TID radio. It looks like a Baofeng UV5R, but this is a HP15 Pro. This is GMRS, different frequencies. But that's going to be simplex. That's going to be transmit and receive on the same frequency as well. Last one we'll tackle for this evening. Number 123. Should survivalists organize or join survival groups and prepper clubs, or should they remain isolated? In my opinion, the lone wolf will not survive. You're going to be, the way I tell people is you have to sleep sometime, and you can't sleep the rest of your life with one eye open. The lone survivalists who were out there with the Native Americans trying to tackle them, they didn't survive. It doesn't happen. You may think you're going to live by raiding others, but there's always going to be somebody out there who's better than you are. There's going to be somebody out there who's a better shot than you are. There's going to be somebody out there who's better prepared than you are. You're taking your life in your hands by being all by yourself. And I'm going to throw another curveball in here. You're also taking your life in your own hands if you bring in people that you don't explicitly trust. Okay. I am very selective in who I have invited to be in my group because I realize that I've got to sleep and they're going to be inside my home. So I want somebody that I know I can trust. I can sleep and I'll still wake up the next morning and still we'll still have the group that we have assembled. So there's only a total of 8 of us who are going to be inside here. I have zones A, B, and C. So there are 8 inside zone A, and there's 14 in zone B, okay, which is out in the yard and everything else. Oh, let me tell you, I got into a discussion with somebody the other day, and I found out they're on sale right now. They're illegal to use, but they're legal to own. So you can buy it now, just can't put it up now, but you can put it up once SHTF happens. And that is go to Amazon and get razor wire. And that's RAZOR wire. And what that is that's basically what I had to put up triple strand every time we set up a SCIF, secure compartmented intelligence facility, out in the woods. So we laid down a foundation of 2 and then a third one up on top. I can't tell you how many sets of fatigues and BDUs I went through because that razor wire will tear it up. Make sure you get some good puncture-proof gloves and have them come down at least halfway down your arm so that you can manipulate the razor wire as you're spreading it. They also have some steel zip ties, which is what you use to put the razor wire together so that people can't just pull one part off. They'd have to pull the whole thing together. So great deal. It's on sale right now on YouTube. I'm not going to give you a link or anything for me to make any money off of it. I just think if you are concerned about securing your area in a post-apocalyptic world, go to YouTube, get you some razor wire. Just don't set it up until after SHTF happens. Okay, so I think that pretty much catches us up. Hope you got some ideas around recurve bow, a Going to forget my terminology now. I like the recurve bow, so that's what I'm recommending you get. And then you can get a good slingshot, which is fantastic. Just make sure you buy all kinds of ammo for that. And these are basically steel ball bearings, but you can also get other pointed objects. You can make your own. You can basically take a sewing needle or a straight pin, okay, and then make kind of like a spitball, put the sewing needle or straight pin through that spitball, let that spitball get kind of dry. And I even put a little bit of glue on it. And then you can put something like a couple pieces of thread, a small piece of cloth, something that's going to trail behind it so that what it's doing is it's keeping the point straight in the forward movement. And you can use that and use it and launch it from a slingshot. So slingshot, bow and arrow, great tools, knife, get a good one. I would not focus on strictly a fighting knife. I would say get a good knife and see if you can't turn it into a fighting knife. For all around, let me tell you, this is a phenomenal knife. It's a great bush knife. It's a great survival knife. It's a great fighting knife. So this is, if you're going to get one that when you want one that's going to be good for everything, I would say get the USMC fighting knife. That's going to be, in my opinion, my recommendation to you. And then, of course, get a decision matrix. Get the book. Get the decision matrix. Learn how to use it so that you can prioritize where you're going to put your time, effort, money, and studying so that you can survive this next thing with us. So I saw a question from North Carolina 1. When will I be on next? So what I try to do, North Carolina, is I try to do a live every Monday evening at 8 o'clock Central. And we're going to continue on with this book. We've got 20 more questions or topics in this book. We'll continue on with it, and then I'll tell you what the next book is going to be. Right now, I'm leaning towards a book that's very much like it. I had it right over here somewhere. It's called the Bug In, Bug Out book. Yeah, here it is. Gosh, if you guys saw how many books I've got piled up here that I'm reading at the same time, and my journals and everything else. But this is probably going to be the next one we're going to tackle, the Bug In, Bug Out book. Great book as well. I'm not that far along with it, but look at all the tabs I've already got. So anyhow, so we try to do a nonfiction book on Monday nights at 8 o'clock. We do a fiction book, and the last one we did was John Grammer's newest book, and that was 2 months ago. We did not do last month. This month, at the end of the month, we're doing 299 days of preparation. That's going to be the last Thursday of this month. Then the second and fourth Saturday of the month at 7:30 p.m. And these are all in the show notes. We have our panel discussion where I'm getting 4 people together and I give them the question from the conflicted card deck, and then we have a discussion around that conflicted discussion. So that's when I typically am on. I try to also put out prepper tips, shorts, at least once a week, and I'm due to put one out here very shortly. And so look for that to come out in the next week or so. Sometimes you never know. They just might be a preparedness type of a recipe. So that's where we are. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for your time, and thank you for tolerating me with my error and closing down the wrong thing. That happens when you get as old and senile as I am. But thank you so much for tolerating me. I greatly appreciate that. So the book of Numbers, chapter 6, verses 24, 25, 26, the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord let his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord look upon you kindly and give you peace. And gosh, do we need peace right now. A lot of stuff going on in the world. Okay, so do me a favor. Remember, we're all in this together. Please continue to be kind, polite, and respectful to each other. Find a group. Create a group. Be part of a group. Share what you know with other people, because the only way we're going to get through this is together. Thanks, everybody. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.